All right, let's go right to our hotline. Thank you very much, Karen. Let's go right to our hotline where we have the owner of the Cleveland Indians with us, Mr. Larry Dolan. Larry, I thought this was supposed to be fun, Larry.
Well, I thought so too, but I'll tell you, candidly, today was not fun.
Yeah. Larry, I got to ask you some very candid questions today because, I mean, it's and I personally, I've been born and raised in Cleveland, been around here a lifetime, been a sports fan all my entire life, and I think for the first time in my life, it's very important that the Indians fans hear from you. I really do believe that in my heart because there's so much speculation going around that you cannot afford this franchise. I have never seen your books. I think it's stupid to even speculate that. I got to ask you, Larry, can you afford this franchise?
The simple answer is, Mike, yes. In fact, I asked Bud Shaw to come in today because I had things to say to him about his column this morning.
Yeah, I said earlier, I don't know if you heard it, I thought it was very unprofessional unless he knows your financial structure for him to say that all signs point to an owner in trouble. That was his headlines today.
Well, Bud is an excellent writer, and he covers the Indians well, and he's a good guy. So we talked about that, and let me tell you what I told him. First of all, the economy that is operating today has no impact on my assets. Whether the stock market's up or down, it has no effect at all. Specifically, he mentioned Cablevision stock, which is markedly down. But when we purchased the Indians, Cablevision stock was a big player in that, and it was at 81. Today it closed a little less than 10. But that has no effect on me because that Cablevision stock has been played at a very excellent price for us. The reason we get conversations like "Can I afford it?" is because I keep saying I won't spend, but I'm not going to. But my unwillingness to spend has nothing to do with my ability to spend. It has everything to do with the appropriate time to spend money. Historically, I say without hesitation, if you look over the history of owners of the Cleveland Indians, I've spent more of my money on an annualized basis since I've been the owner than anyone else. As late as this last year, we decided for 2002 that we felt that our pitching had matured to the point where we no longer had to spend big money on a Juan Gonzalez type. That we could spread it out and have a balanced team, and we would be effective in 2002. Well, except for the first 12 days, we haven't been effective. Mm-hmm. And I have said to the fans many, many times that my responsibility, as I see it, as the owner of this Indians team, is to put a competitive team on the field. And I defined it. That's a team that you expect to get in the playoffs and expect it to go deep into the playoffs. Well, Mike, it's no surprise to anyone that this team is not that. I have not delivered on that. It hadn't worked, the transitional. So we are clearly stating, these are not easy decisions to be made, that we're going to rebuilding. And when you rebuild, you tear down. We're gonna move this team down. We're gonna get the players in place who, in 2, 3, 4 years, will put this team back into World Series contention. What I like to say, Mike, is today's the first step towards the World Series. We're making the decisions that have to be made. They're not popular. We're taking a lot of heat. But I can tell you without reservation, it has nothing to do with my ability. As we rebuild on a season basis, if there's an opportunity to add a bat here, because I think we'll have the pitching, I won't hesitate to step up and do that. But I'm not going to throw money at Band-Aids. History has shown that doesn't work. We have to restock our position players. We're in the process of doing that, and we will have a team back on the field that I can be proud of.
You know, Larry, I understand what you're trying to do. I appreciate what you're trying to do because I want a World's Championship. I just don't want a competitive team every year that really can't go anywhere, but it's competitive. I want to see a World's Championship here, and I think that's what you're trying to rebuild towards is a World Championship.
It's even more than that. We had a World Champion caliber team,
right?
And but it was built on hitting, and it spiraled up and just missed. But what fans should note is it didn't have the ability to stay up because it didn't have pitching. This team, when it comes back up there, sooner than you think, will have the ability to stay up there. So, like the Braves and the Yankees, we'll be built around pitching. We'll add the hitting where it's necessary. If the fans support this, we'll have the revenues to do it. If they don't, then it's my job to provide those revenues.
I'm talking with the owner of the Cleveland Indians, Larry Dolan. And, you know, Larry, prior to owning the Cleveland Indians, you were a pretty private guy. You did a lot for charity behind the scenes, did a whole bunch of different things in the community. Now you own the Indians, and now all of a sudden your business is on Front Street. Is it a little frustrating for you to have it put out there like that? And do you have to get on a show or in the papers and defend yourself? Especially your financial worth. Do you find that frustrating?
Well, sure. I don't think anyone would look forward to that. But Mike, I have enough ego that there's parts of this I find very interesting. I'll tell you what I really do like is the fans of this city, with all the negativism that they're pouring out right now, mostly directed at me, is merely a reflection of the passion they feel for this game. And the worst thing they could do would be to ignore me. And we both know they're not ignoring me right at the moment.
Mr. Dolan, how long do you plan, the best case scenario, for this franchise to be either with you or in your family with your son?
Well, unless something untoward occurs, which I have no knowledge of or any expectations of, I expect to have this team under Paul's ownership, and he expects to have perhaps one of his children have the ownership. We expect to have it for a long time. Now, this is a mercurial world we live in, and things change rapidly. But that's our expectations. That's what we look forward when we bought it. We enjoy the challenge. We don't like the criticism, but it comes with the turf. We want to see this team settled in where it's a World Series contender year in and year out. It can be done, and you don't have to spend all the kind of money that other teams spend. You just look around at other clubs who've just thrown money at seasoned players. Look at the New York Times today and read the story about the New York Mets. The way we're about doing it is the right way. I'm sorry we can't affect it on a transitional basis. That would have been easier for the fans to take. Now, I don't expect them to support us if we're not a competitive team. I hope they will when we are.
Mr. Dolan, once you do rebuild this thing, let's say it comes together in 2004, 2005. This is kind of a silly question, but did you ever think about in 2008 or 2010 you're going to have to rebuild it again? People don't understand that it doesn't last forever. Okay, eventually you're going to somewhere down the line, whatever year it is, you're going to have to rebuild it again. My question is, the second, if you rebuild this thing now and it turns out right, and we go on to a World Series again in a few years, do you think the second time you go through this, the people will understand because you can point back to the year 2002?
Well, that's a reasonable expectation we would have, but I agree with Kim's response. We're agonizing.
It's kind of like, let's just get through today, right, yeah. Mr. Dolan?
But we don't have to do that. The reason we have to do this today is because we traded all our young players away. We don't have any position players in the minor leagues. Only way we can get them is to move the players we have now. Witness the horrendous Colon trade. Very difficult to do.
Have you learned something, Mr. Dolan,
yes, I have.
From the past, the regime?
I have. And that is, you have to take a balanced approach. You've got to put the major league team on the field. It's got to be competitive, but you've got to make sure you budget so that your farm teams grow. you keep bringing the potential up. That money is as important to be spent as for any major league player, and that's going to be a priority for us, so that we will not have to go through this rebuilding. This is a tough rebuilding. It isn't a tinkering. This is going to be a major restructuring, but we're going to do it, and we're going to take the heat, and in shorter than people think. They'll like what they see.
Yeah. Excuse my language, but you're not going to do it half-assed. If you're going to rebuild this thing, you're going to do it right, aren't you?
Absolutely. In hindsight, we should have started sooner, but we talked ourselves into it. And frankly, Mike, you saw the first 12 days.
Yeah.
Now, what the hell happened after that? I'll never know.
Yeah.
None of us do.
We had a power outage, and it's just we just can't wish it back. So we've got to make these moves.
It's amazing how 3 or 4 players that have had proven careers all went bad at the same time.
If they had just performed at their career level,
right,
we'd be several games ahead in the Central Division.
Exactly.
It didn't work out that way. I can't revise history much as I might like. So this is a tough day. But remember this date. Write it down. It's the beginning.
I like the attitude.
I feel much better.
I really do. Larry, when you were going to buy this team, I'm sure you anticipated days like today. But did you ever anticipate that it would be of the magnitude that it is right now?
No, I really didn't. There was a certain naivety involved. But to answer your question directly, I did not. Believe me, I'm learning. I don't want this to happen again. It may happen again very soon. But when we get through this process, I don't want to ever be in a position to make the fans of the city of Cleveland as mad as they are right now. They've been wonderful to this ball club. I am concerned for their feelings. I wish I could make it different. I cannot in the short term, but I will in the medium term.
Mm-hmm. Larry, do you ever sit around with the family, the wife, the kids, the grandkids, and say, you know what, maybe this wasn't a good idea?
What did we do this for?
No, we haven't had that. Actually, the family is really enjoys the involvement with the club. This is not nice. I think tonight could be a very painful experience for me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be sitting out in front.
So, not to keep you, but to close here, just to reiterate it one more time, Mr. Dolan, you can afford this franchise.
Mike, without reservation, I can afford it. People are always saying, I read, well, paid too much for it. Believe me, Mike, that's nonsense. We negotiated an excellent deal. It has no impact whatsoever on the operation of the club. We have seen in the past we've spent the money. I think spending some of the money we did in the past was a mistake. We're going to spend the money wisely, and I think everybody will be happy with the results.
And last point, we are definitely in a rebuilding stage. We're going to tear it down.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dolan, good luck. And like I said, I applaud your guts because I know that you love to sell tickets, and I know this is going to hurt the ticket sales. And so you're actually cutting off your nose to spite your face, yet you're benefiting the city of Cleveland, and the city of Cleveland doesn't really understand that yet.
Well, and I understand that they would not. And I respect that. My job is to have it clear to them as soon as possible.
Well, give them hell, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan.
Bye-bye.